This is Jonah chapter 2, verses 8 to 10. We looked at verses 8 and 9 in our last devotion, which is the end of Jonah's prayer when he's in the belly of the fish. But verse 10 goes on to tell what happens after Jonah prayed. So Jonah says, "Those who pay regard to vain idols forsake their hope of steadfast love. But I, with a voice of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will pay. Salvation belongs to the Lord Yahweh." And the Lord Yahweh spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah out upon the dry land. Well, now that Jonah has pleaded to God to save him from the fish, God now answers his prayer by ordering the fish to bring Jonah back to dry land. But before we praise Jonah for a beautiful prayer of repentance and faith in God, we should look more closely at what's going on. First of all, we don't see very much repentance in Jonah's prayer about his rebellious actions. Even after Jonah was humiliated before the sailors by being punished by the God he was running away from, he still has a major pride problem, and God is well aware of it. It's possible that we see the first hint of it in verses 8 and 9. Jonah seems to be saying, the sailors were unfaithful to their gods by abandoning them when times became difficult, if that's truly the meaning of verse 8. But not me. I remain faithful to my God when things were tough. He seems to be ignoring the fact that they had called out to his God, the true God, before throwing him overboard, but probably was unaware at this point of their dedication to the Lord Yahweh after the storm died down. However, later in chapter 4, we more clearly see Jonah's pride when he expresses his great bitterness for God, showing mercy on the people of Nineveh. This is a problem that is disgusting to God, and this disgust is revealed in the wording of the fish vomiting Jonah onto the dry land. Now, as this was a word of disgust in Hebrew, we might convey this in our culture by using words such as vomit or puke or upchuck. Jonah's salvation from the fish was not God's way of rewarding him for a fine prayer, nor an expression of how pleased he was with Jonah's humility. Jonah still had a lot of spiritual work that needed to take place within him, and the depth of God's mercy was extended in order to give Jonah the opportunity to receive this internal cleansing. When God shows us mercy and salvation, it might be a mercy that's much deeper and richer than we might be initially aware of. He shows us mercy not to reward us, but to humbly cleanse us. Thank the Lord for his rich mercy. Have you ever experienced God's mercy and then looked back later, even more amazed that he was so much more merciful than you realized at the time? As you meditate on this passage, I want you to think about how the depth of the mercy of God is a bottomless pit. Think about that throughout your day. And as you respond in prayer to this passage, tell God that you like the richness and depth of his mercy. This is praise. And ask God to help you see and be aware of just how great his mercy is, and to be thankful for it. And step out in faith. Anytime you feel proud of yourself today, think about how God sees your pride.